Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. So today we've got some serious news that directly targets the black community. So the boss has once again said the quiet part out loud. So he recently announced that he's instructed his administration to go after museums in Washington DC and possibly across the entire country because according to him they're too woke. In his own words, he claimed that museums are focusing too much on how bad slavery was, and instead he wants them to present history in what he calls a fair call, not a woke or racist way. So according to the information that I've gathered, the Smithsonian Museum is one of the institutions. Now, if you've been following the pace he's been moving at, you know this is serious. Everything he's wanted to do since stepping into office has somehow gone through. And I can't shake the feeling that he'll push this one through too, as well. So unless someone steps in to stop him from literally erasing slavery from black history books, the museums, and the saddest part is that some black folks actually agree with him, saying maybe we should leave this too woke part of history behind. But let's be real. What about the parts of history that never happened, like reparations, restitutions, the promised 40 acres and a mule? None of that ever came to pass, but yet somehow they want black folks to skip over the ugly truth of slavery. Well, let's get into some of the reactions this announcement sparked on TikTok, and then I'll come back at the end of this video to share my own 2 cents. Make sure you drop your thoughts in the comment section down below. Let's get into it.
So Trump wants to investigate the Smithsonian because museum, mind you, this been here how long? Who are you? Who are you to question history? If it's so vulgar, if it's so intimidating or sad or frustrating, why did it happen? Why did it happen? The same way we cannot wipe away the fact that you were president for 4 years, you can't just wipe away slavery and pretend like it didn't exist. And that's what you want. You want to make it as if it didn't exist, because you're trying to bring it back. Period. But you kill me talking about, it focuses too much on the negativity of slavery. It is negative. So my team lead said, last time I checked, even the word slavery is horrible. Somebody swoop in and stop this man from trying to disrupt, tear apart, and break down everything that we have built over all these years. I'm just a news flash. We're not going nowhere. Black, brown, Hispanic, we're not going anywhere. You can't just wave a wand and wish and hope that the world was just full of white people. How dare you? That is so disrespectful to the slaves, to my ancestors, to the people that experienced it. How dare you want to take it away like it didn't exist? Why? Because it make you feel uncomfortable. Oh, get your panties in a bunch. Oh, I don't know what to tell you, boo-boo. I don't know what to tell you, because if you could have slaves right now, you would. Probably do. I'll just say.
Even through all the midst of what's been going on, I'm glad I'm in D.C. because I'm at the Smithsonian right now, the Black History and Culture Museum. If these niggas want to start changing shit, that's cool. Document all this stuff right now. I'm going to be the one that has the archive so that y'all can't just change history and think shit gonna be sweet.
As a person who has studied African American history, both on a personal level because of the stories that have been handed down to me by my parents and my grandparents, who was handed to them by their great-grandparents, and as a person who has read and who has visited the monuments and the museums and heard the oral traditions and the stories, who has looked at the accounts of white enslavers, everything that the common person knows about slavery is a sanitization of how bad slavery in America actually was. To be clear, American chattel slavery is the single most barbaric experience that any group of people have been put through in our recorded history as humans. And it is an extension of the reality that Europeans raped and pillaged their way through the New World in order to conquer it. They are the villains of every indigenous people's story, because no one has ever brought more violence or crime or disease than Europeans trying to manifest destiny their way through the world. which is why this post from the president is particularly insidious, because the whole idea of museums talking about how horrible the country is or how bad slavery was, as if it wasn't, as if we're lying. But that is the white supremacist talking point, that we've been lying, that white folks were actually nice enslavers, and that those who were enslaved actually enjoyed it. He wants to replace that with being the hottest country in the world, or he wants to replace it with lying about who America has been and the byproduct to this day. Because to be clear, slavery is the single most impactful thing that most Americans are experiencing to this day. Trump's lawyers can go to these museums and sanitize all they want. We know the truth, and those of us who know the truth will continue to tell the truth, no matter how much they white lie. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
Donald Trump is actively trying to purge museums of Black history and whitewash America's history by calling our museums too woke.
Well, we want the museums to treat our country fairly. We want the museums to talk about the history of our country in a fair manner, not in a woke manner or in a racist manner, which is what many of them, not all of them, but many of them are doing. Our museums have an obligation to represent what happened in our country over the years, good and bad, but what happened over the years in an accurate way.
Black American history is barely taught in America as it stands now. There is no universal curriculum in this country to explain the history of what it means to be Black in America and our Black experience. We learn our history from our parents, our grandparents, our elders, and our community, and that's how we've always learned our history. An abridged version of what most people in this country learn is that slavery was bad. Slaves were brought from Africa. They worked on plantations, mainly cotton and tobacco. Lincoln ended slavery, then cut to Martin Luther King and civil rights, and then we've been free. But that is not how history works, right? Our history is omitted from curriculum and omitted from the mainstream society, because that would have to mean that America would admit its portion in systematically oppressing us today. Slavery lasted for 246 years, from 1619 until 1865. And then for 89 years after 1865, we lived under one of the worst apartheid systems in the modern world, where Jim Crow run rampant. In 1954, we got the civil rights era starting, and when we had our leaders fight for our rights to vote, fight for our rights to have fair and free housing. But we were still, the systems in place were already unilaterally spread throughout this country, meaning Black people couldn't do many things. And we had to fight for the next 30 to 40, 50 years, even today, to get access to certain things. But because this isn't taught, and the history and the gruesomeness of that slavery, where we have men raping women at their beck and call, and then stealing those babies from those mothers and then raping them again and getting them pregnant. Black people were sent to breeding farms, mainly in Virginia, to breed with each other, because the strongest slave would breed another strong slave, whether they were family or not. That's where the term motherfucker comes from. The more you know. Lynching people, how people bringing their babies to come watch lynchings, antagonizing Black people, terrorizing Black people, eating Black people. There's so many things that happen in America with white people against Black people. And the fact that they're trying to spin this new era of, well, not everybody owned a slave, white people aren't evil, it's always white people bad, Black people good. And that's not the case. The case is, if we don't teach our history the correct way, why would anyone listen to my experience as a Black person? And it's already being challenged. You know, it's every time I put up a video about the Black experience or Black history, people can throw out racist comments very quickly to me. And I'm like, why do you think it's so easy for you to be racist when my experience is exhausting? It is exhausting being Black and have to stand 10 toes down for my history and my culture. Because if it's not us to teach it, they'll wipe it from the history books here. And that's what they're trying to do.
Why is Black history always introduced with chains but never a crown? Trump blasted the Smithsonian for focusing too much on slavery. Now, whether you agree with him or not, here's the real question. Why is the bulk of the museum space filled with our oppression, but so little with our excellence? We had an elite class in America. We had inventors, bankers, property owners, educators, and politicians long before the Civil Rights Act. We had kingdoms in antiquity with wealth, trade, and power. But step into most museums and you would think our story starts in a cotton field. Why not balance the receipts? Of course, we have to remember slavery. It's the foundation of America's wealth. But if that's all we ever show, they're training us to see ourselves through shackles and not a strategy. Truth isn't just about pain, it's also about power. Our ancestors were more than just survivors. They were builders, innovators, and that's the part of the story we got to tell ourselves because nobody else will. So push your kids to learn both. Read the plaques about slavery, then show them the names of the Black Wall Street. Visit the plantations, but also teach them about the ancient Mali, Ethiopia, or even the free Black elite in Philadelphia. Don't let one narrative be the entire mirror of who you are.
To the white people saying that the Black History Museum has an overemphasis on slavery, what part should they focus on instead? The part where Black people got restitution? Because that never happened. The part where Black people got reparations? Because that never happened. The part where Black people got their 40 acres and a mule? Because that never happened. The part where Black people had their civil rights protected right away? Because that never happened either. In fact, it took until 1965, and then look in the mirror and get offended by what you see.
Donald Trump just basically said that museums in the United States are out of control and woke because there's exhibits within these museums about slavery. He wrote, "The Smithsonian is out of control where everything discussed is how horrible our country is, how bad slavery was, ... Either Donald Trump has never been to a museum in his life, which probably is true, or he's grossly exaggerating what he did see in these museums. Teaching Americans, especially children, about where we screwed up, like with slavery, is actually a good thing because it prevents us from following in those footsteps again. Trying to erase the history that makes us look bad is really something that dictators of the past have done time and time again. So if you want to actually teach our children and not indoctrinate them, then I would say let's not touch these museums. Do you agree?
I have been covering this asshole for a while, but I cannot believe he actually said this part out loud. He went online to complain that the Smithsonian says slavery is bad. He wants the Smithsonian to say slavery was good. The museums throughout Washington, but all over the country, essentially are the last remaining segment of woke. The Smithsonian is out of control, where everything discussed is how horrible our country was, how bad slavery was. Wow. And how unaccomplished the downtrodden have been. Nothing about success, nothing about brightness, nothing about the future. We are not going to allow this to happen. I've instructed my attorneys to go through the museums and start the exact same process that has been done with colleges and universities, where tremendous progress has been made. This country cannot be woke because woke is broke. We have the hottest country in the world, and we want people to talk about it, including in our museums.
No more talk about how bad slavery once was. It's going to be removed not only from the Smithsonian museums in Washington, but throughout the country. Why? Because Trump said the Smithsonian should portray America's brightness, not how bad slavery was. Trump confirmed today that the White House is not only going to conduct a review of the Smithsonian museums, but also museums around the entire country. He expressed a lot of frustration over the portrayal of the dark parts of America's history, especially slavery. In a Truth Social post, which is very long, I'll share some of it, Trump said, "The museums throughout Washington, but all over the country, are essentially the last remaining segment of woke. The Smithsonian is out of control," in caps, discussing how bad slavery was. Nothing about success, brightness, and the future. Now, apparently Trump is misinformed or misunderstands what museums are. And there might be some Trump supporters who don't know what museums are as well. So let me share the definition of what a museum is. A museum is a building in which objects of historical, scientific, artistic, or cultural interest are stored and exhibited. That means all parts of history. Trump said they are no longer allowing this to happen. He instructed his attorneys to go through all of the museums because this country cannot be woke. We have the hottest country in the world. A little over 6 months in, I have no words for this. Please like, follow, and share so that I can continue to provide you with content. And maybe one day we will all get back to reality. Thanks for being here.
Okay, so before we wrap this up, I really need to leave you with this question. What exactly is he going to achieve by removing this part of Black history from Black history? Like, what's the end goal here? Because let's not forget, this is a museum. The very purpose of a museum is to preserve history, to document it, to display it, and to make sure that the generations coming after, this one have access to the full truth. If you start erasing pieces of history just because they make certain people uncomfortable, then what are you doing? I mean, what are you preserving? It's rewriting. And rewriting history is the first step toward erasing people's identity altogether. Now, I sit back and think about this, and it makes me ask myself, like, are they really trying to erase Black history altogether? Because that's what it feels like. And if that's the plan, then let's call it for what it is. I mean, it's not about balance. It's not about fairness. It's not about telling history. It's some so-called neutral. In some so-called neutral. It's about control. It's about making sure that the pain, the suffering, the resilience, and the survival of Black people in America gets watered down, pushed to the margins, or worse, forgotten. That's the bigger danger here. And to the brother who stood up and said he agrees with Trump on this, listen, I hear you. I really do. I get the desire to want to move forward, to focus on the accomplishments, the victories, the things that show Black folks in a positive light. That in itself is not wrong. If this is what was about putting a spotlight on the greatness of Black Americans, the inventors, the pioneers, the freedom fighters, the builders of culture, music, art, and innovation, then maybe we could have had a different conversation. Maybe then we could have said, okay, let's balance the pain with the pride. But that's not what is happening here. And you know it. I know it. Everyone watching this knows it. What's being pushed here is not about uplifting Black achievement. It's not about celebrating the milestone. It's about taking the darkest, most painful chapters of Black history, the chapters that hold this country accountable and acting like they never happened. And here's the part that really bothers me. When you erase the trauma, when you erase the struggle, you also erase the context for why Black accomplishments even matter. You erase the story of how Black folks overcame. You erase the power, the proof that despite being stripped of everything, Black folks still managed to create, to build, to fight, and to rise. That's why this narrative shift is so dangerous. It doesn't just erase the suffering, it erases the strength. Let me tell you something. History is not supposed to be comfortable. History is not supposed to be easy. History is supposed to be, to make us, Black folks, Black Americans, I'm part of you guys, please don't come for me, to make us learn, to remind us of what was wrong, so that we don't repeat it again. When you sanitize history, when you sugarcoat it, you're setting the stage for the same injustices to creep back in through the back door. That's what this feels like. A quiet way to roll back the clock, to undo progress, to weaken the foundation of truth so that lies can take its place. That's what I think. I mean, and I'll be honest, there are some things I really want to say about this, but I can't say them on this app. And I think a lot of you already know what it is that I'm trying to say. I mean, many of you are sitting there right now thinking the exact same thoughts I'm holding back. So I'll just leave it at that. We're on the same page. We see the same game being played. But let's not let them win by staying quiet. This is where our voices matter. This is where discussion matters. This is where unity matters, because our history belongs to everybody, not just the parts they approve of it, approve of, not just the stories that make them look good, but the full story, the good, the bad, the ugly, the inspiring. It all belongs in the museum. It all belongs in the classroom. It all belongs in our collective memory, Black American collective memory. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. Share your thoughts in the comment section down below. Let's have this conversation openly. Let's call it out for what it is. Let's not shy away from the uncomfortable truth, because the moment we do, we've already lost. I mean, I am interested to hear from every single one of you. What do you think the end game really is here? Do you think this is about erasing history completely? Do you think this is just another step in a long pattern of silencing uncomfortable truths? Or do you think there's something bigger at play? Because at the end of the day, if we don't protect Black American history, no one else is going to do it for them, for us. I'm a Black American now, adopted by Black Americans. And if we allow them to erase slavery, what's next? Do they erase segregation? Do they erase Jim Crow? Do they erase the civil rights movements? Do they erase the contributions of Black inventors, artists, leaders who changed the very fabric of America? Where does it stop? That is why we can't take this lightly. That is why we have to, speak up. That is why I'll continue bringing these conversations to this channel. We can't control what they're planning behind these closed doors. I mean, but we can control how loud we get out here. And the louder we get, the harder it becomes for them, hopefully. So yeah, those are my final thoughts on this, but I really want to keep this conversation going with you. Go ahead, drop your opinions, your frustrations, your insights, whatever you're feeling in the comment section down below. Let's keep the energy alive, because trust me, this is just the beginning of a much bigger fight. And as always, I'll see you in my next video. Please stay aware, stay strong, and stay unapologetically you. Stay peaceful. I'll see you in my next video.